we're looking at my rhythm guitars, I have them arranged from our tracking session into a few tracks that were already kind of balanced as a starting point, but we can go through them again. Basically, I have a pair of stereo rhythms here. That's my main left-right tone. Accompanying that throughout basically the entire song, there's like a quad layer, which is a third or fourth tracked rhythm that is designed to work in conjunction with this, it looks like, throughout the song. So my guess is I probably balance these at 0. These are probably a little lower, so they kind of complement this sound, but they don't overtake the sound. And then the rhythm tone changes pictures throughout the mix with some various pedals and stuff. We were probably using a fuzz pedal because the tracks say fuzz, so I'm gonna guess this was fuzz. And I have them on high and low tracks. What I did here was I probably wanted to hear that more or less in given parts of the song, so we designed it where it would sit balanced. When I hit playback, they were kind of, their respective levels to each other were already correct. So looking at the way I have this arranged, there are moments where there are 6 guitar tracks, which means this fuzz low track was probably just in there a little bit to kind of even out, kind of add some character to the guitar tone, but not really overtake the part. And then later in the song, I could see I've only used it in scenarios where there are 4 guitar tracks, which means this is probably supposed to be as loud as what my main rhythm is. So this basically becomes my main rhythm in sections like this. Then we have this rhythm 2 bit, which I believe, I know what this is. This was me not recording rhythm guitars when I thought I would use fuzz guitars, and then going back later and kind of restriping stuff with a rhythm guitar tone. So this was just some working through tracking stuff where I wanted another layer after we had already broken down one guitar setup to start recording through another. And then rounding out this session is just some alt guitars, which are just single performances that are not panned hard left or right to just be breaks or intro parts, it looks like. And then a couple leads, which are for the sake of time and just showing you, some arrangement stuff and getting to cooler details later. I've actually left my leads in this session exactly how I had them coming out of tracking, which is basically what maintains itself through the whole mix. A good part of my workflow that I really enjoy is committing to sounds while I'm tracking, which means everything from the amount of compression, the EQ, the amount of effects, how loud it sits in relationship to the rest of the track, the panning on the track, the whole picture of that guitar. We design it, I try to commit to it, I put it in the track where it sounds good, and then we move on to the next thing. But doing that as I go, when I'm done, it leaves me with this great playback where I already have everything balanced. All of this is going to a lead bus, so in theory, if I just turn that lead bus up and down a little bit at this point, my leads are all probably going to be balanced relative to each other. So I like to start my mixes like that, and I left some of the delays and reverbs that I had already designed in here just to show you a bit of what I have done, but this kind of will probably wind up staying pretty much like this till the end. And then there's like some feedback at the bottom. Looks like I just created a feedback swell that we have sitting over here going at our rhythm bus. That's about it. Not a crazy guitar session. Cool use of blending some guitar layers and changing the guitar picture for the given part. So we'll look into that. First thing I want to do is kind of jam on my main rhythms a little bit, put the quads in and out a little bit, and then see if there's any kind of, broad strokes sort of EQ move or filter that I need to do. So I'm gonna just play a little bit of guitar and jump around and see what the next step will be for this. So I just wanted to see how the balance sits, like when one rhythm guitar turns off and another one turns on, just to make sure nothing's too jumpy as just a basic balance thing. I'm just gonna solo my rhythm guitars, jam on them, kind of mute some of the quads and stuff and see what we got here. Cool tone, bit of a ring to it. I definitely was pumping an Ubershaw, it sounds like, and I've got a bit of some of that unflattering presence stuff in the high mids going. So I might just... that little spike right in there, 2.5K. Right now I have this on my bus. I might, depending on if these are kind of global broad stroke moves, run all the guitars through them, but I also might treat the individual tracks differently. I'm trying to do less on the EQ side with some of this stuff, get it balanced in the mix, and not have to really alter the sounds. I like the tones I got. I'm just problem solving right now. So I'm kind of soloing some stuff, looking for my problems. Don't have that kind of ringing problem on my quads like I do with the rhythms. So I will probably grab this setting and copy it and put it just on my rhythm guitars and not on the entire bus. Quad tone actually wasn't an amp. This was my amp sim. I think I committed to using this so I was going to be able, much like we did with the bass, to design a quad tone that supported the guitar part, have the flexibility to tweak it a little later in the mix, and the ability to change it part by part. I think on this song, this stayed very static, but on the rest of the record, I did change the actual tone in the mix of different quad sections to kind of support some of the different pedals we used and stuff. I know there's a lot of back and forth and tap dancing with different distortions and fuzzes on this record, and not really one quad sound kind of applied across the board that kind of filled in the holes and made the really cool wall picture of that. So we kept the quads in the plugin, so I had that kind of flexibility, and it actually worked out really good, complementing my main rhythms for this. Here, kind of a brighter thing, a bit more, a different kind of mid-focus thing that I have from this amp in the amp sim, actually kind of filling in some of the scoopiness of the rhythm guitars, which is cool. I do want to hear a little more of that chug action. I might throw a little compressor on this. Very subtly want to hear this dig in with an attack when the palm mutes happen. Give you a little more of an attack maybe. 3 to 1's pretty good. Nothing too crazy, just a little thicker, a little more of a tooth, and we dial that for my quads. Excellent. I'm going to take a look at, on the analog side, maybe just playing with my guitar bus EQ, seeing if any shelves or filters or anything sound cool. I'm going to put the guitars a bit more in the cut in the mix here, and just jam and see if there's any frequencies I can boost, hype, do anything fun with, carve something that gives it a different tone. This EQ that I use on my guitar bus for this mix is the Aurora Audio GT4. Super musical EQ, very Neve-like. It's Geoff from Neve's company, and it just has a lot more frequency points, and it's fun to kind of just sit, play with the knobs, see if anything sounds cool. So I'm going to do that first before I do anything else here. Filter stage, tiny bit of low pass, tiny bit of high pass on this. I might look at potentially committing to these instead of doing any kind of filtering in the box because these are very good sounding filters. Again, very musical. The roll off on the low end isn't a really good spot for guitars, so I think I might start with that, and then I might do the kind of hyped high end thing that we've been doing. Look at maybe using the high shelf on the guitars for this. Like that, brightened it up, competes a little more with the cymbals now, which were sitting much brighter because I had kind of already hyped them too. So same kind of move, like a little bit of filtering, then a little bit of that super high end kind of shelf stuff. It seems to be my move a lot lately. Could play with scooping this a little bit, just knowing the song and what we had talked about. We did have some more kind of honky mids cut out of this, so continue to mess around here. Really subtle scoop around 630 it looks like. High Q, just pulling out a little of that mid-range stuff, giving it a little more character. They're a little light on the low end. I don't know if I should be adding low end yet with this EQ because I feel like I might want to hear the whole mix a little fatter as we move along. And it feels balanced compared to the bass and the kick right now, but it all might feel a little light as I'm kind of listening to this. So I might look at maybe hyping some more low end stuff on my 2-bus perhaps. Kind of low across the board now that I think about it. I do have my Chandler not engaged. I could look at putting that in. Let's see what my noise floor is if I'm going to be overly punishing to the listeners. Give myself a little lift at 90. That tiny little lift there definitely helped kind of glue all that together. It feels a little fatter on the bottom. Probably a better starting point for me now that I think about it. Might just jam for a second, jump around, see how the kick and bass sit now.